So today is October 24th, 2019, which means tomorrow is the LSAT.
And it's going okay. I feel like I'm learning how to read the passages now.
I'm stressed.
I feel like I'm not gonna reach my goal. That would be really upsetting. And I've been trying to do everything I can, but
all I can do really is just hopefully tomorrow have more energy and just refocus and just try the best.
Look like I have a plant coming out of my head. I swear I don't, okay? Hey everyone, this video has been a long time coming. It's just taken me 3 years. But I knew that one day I'll be sitting down and filming this video. I just didn't know when, I just didn't know how, and I've been procrastinating for so long. I don't know if I've actually shared it on the internet before, but I have been applying for law school, started the whole journey in 2019, which is so wild. And I guess because of the pandemic, it just feels like such a slow and long, but at the same time a very quick and chaotic past 3 years. So I'm gonna get into this video quickly because I really could have used someone just talking about their reality and how this experience has been for them while applying to law school. Here's my law school journey. Let's get into it. I thought I would kind of go into each year, some of the months, and then kind of go into that timeline about how everything ended up working out. In order to start, I have to start in 2019. I knew that there were 3 things that I really needed to focus on, which was writing the LSAT and then my GPA and also writing a personal statement. I was scheduled to write the LSAT in October of that year for the very first time, and I decided it would be a good idea to vlog my study process and just like some of the thoughts that I had while going through that for the first time. To be completely honest, I stopped filming. You could see like some of the clips that I included in the intro, but I think the closer that I got to the LSAT, the more stressed I was getting, and then I was really embarrassed because I felt as though I wasn't performing to the best of my ability. I had really high expectations of myself, so when things weren't going as smoothly as I wanted it to, I was just very uncomfortable with myself. My first LSAT, which I scored a 146 on, that was a 26th percentile score. I only scored better than 26% of the people who wrote the LSAT. I think that's kind of how that works. I realized that people kind of only post the highlight reels on social media, and I'm guilty of that too. I feel as though like all the videos that we're seeing were people who were getting such high scores, and I would go through Reddit posts and people would be like, yeah, if you scored anything below a 170, you're not getting in, and it was just not helpful. So I kind of let a lot of that outside negative chatter get into my head, and I kind of had to stop filming that year because I was not in a good space. One of the biggest things for me was realizing how much effort it took to study for the LSAT. So in the beginning, I just kind of thought, oh, like I don't need to buy all these fancy books. I'm just gonna take a simple book from the library maybe, and then also do the 10 practice tests from Khan Academy. I literally only did 10 practice tests and then went into my LSAT, and that's why I didn't score well. But when I realized that score wasn't good enough to get into law school, and I kind of came back and said, okay, you know what, the second time I'm trying this, I'm going to try changing my approach to how I study for the LSAT. So that kind of really put me in the spot of stepping out of my comfort zone and literally asking for help. The smartest thing that I've ever done was applying for the LSAT program. So if you're in Toronto and a low-income student, I'd really recommend this program. It's facilitated by U of T. So it was from June to August, and because of COVID, for me that program ended up being online. We would have lectures 2 days a week from 10 to 12 where they would teach us methods about just different techniques of how to approach the LSAT and the different sections. And I feel like practicing is so important, especially while writing the LSAT, because repetition and practice is really what gets you to the score that you want. I think the really good thing about this program is that I not only met people who were in the same boat as me, so it was nice to meet other people who were as stressed as I was. It was like we were in it together, but I also like learned about so many different resources. I didn't know that there was an LSAT waiver fee or fee waiver. It would let you write a couple of LSATs for free if you're a specific low income group. They also gave a 1-year free subscription transcription for almost every single real LSAT test. So I was studying from a format that translated into the real LSAT, if that makes sense. I wasn't surprised when I wrote the LSAT because I wrote, like, compared to the 10 I started with, I think I did more than 100 practice tests. That was really helpful for me, and those resources I would have never known about unless I joined that program. Yeah, so that would kind of push me forward into September and October. I scheduled myself to write the October 2020 LSAT. So I spent those couple of months in between after I finished the program to self-study. Yeah, again, it just kind of involved me doing drills, doing the test, and then more importantly, going over my practice test and realizing why the wrong answers were wrong and why my correct answers were correct. It made me pause instead of rushing forward through so many tests and then continue with newer skills or better methods to approach questions. Another thing that was different during the month of October was that we were writing LSAT flexes now because of COVID. So this meant that I was writing 3 sections, and there was like pros to that, of course. Like, it was a shorter LSAT ultimately. I knew that each section was counted for marks, but then the cons was like the technology struggle. Like, I don't think anyone really talks about the stress that comes from like showing your room and like setting it up. It was very nerve-wracking for me, at least, like being on camera. And I also found that the score conversion, like if I was doing a practice test, I would be doing it based on the old format. So my score conversion of what I thought I was getting was not 100% accurate. This time around, I really did change my approach to writing the LSAT. I feel as though the first time I wrote the LSAT, it was just so stressful commuting to the middle of nowhere that my mindset was not calm. I was so frantic the whole time. So I really wanted to learn ways to kind of calm down. Kind of set myself a routine while I was practicing my LSAT so that on the real day of the LSAT, I would have like a set routine. For me, that personally involved like meditating, and then I also did some affirmations every time I wrote an LSAT so I can go in with the best mindset. When I took that October LSAT, I scored a 151, and that was a 5-point improvement from the first time I wrote it, and it was also the 49th percentile. It was a huge improvement from before, and I was happy that I improved because it meant that I was doing something right, like, you know, going forward in the direction I wanted to. I just knew, I'm like, you know what, I can do better. So I'm like, hey, if I'm writing the LSAT for free, like, why would I not write it again and try again to improve my score? So then that's exactly what I did. I had to really let go of the expectations that I had for myself, like writing the LSAT, acing it, getting into law school just simply. My mindset was really, this happened, great. Not so great sometimes, but how do I move forward from it, and how do I do things differently? Every time I write the LSAT, I don't want to be writing it in the same way. Oh, that was another thing. So I ended up having a gap year, and it was the worst possible year to have a gap year because of the pandemic. So all I ended up doing really was going to work, studying for the LSAT, making TikToks, and making whipped coffee. Like, that was pretty much it. What I decided was, for the next time that I was applying, I wanted to keep all doors open, and I didn't want to be sitting at home anymore. So I was thinking, I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna apply to law school again for sure because I've already put so much work into it. I'm not gonna quit on that goal. But I also thought, just in case, you know what, I'm gonna apply for my Master's of Social Work because it is something that I was really interested in. So I applied to MSW and law school that year. After I finished the whole submitting the application, I wrote the January LSAT again. This LSAT I got a 156, and I was happy about it actually. Like, my goal was to get a 160, but I got a 156, and I ended up just submitting it and literally saying it is what it is. That year I got waitlisted in Osgood. I didn't get accepted into the other schools, and I got accepted into one of the one-year MSW programs. I stuck with the MSW, and I knew that I had to write the LSAT again, unfortunately. What do you guys guess happened next? I wrote the LSAT again. Yeah, I was trying not to get so defeated this time around, and I think that's the thing about rejection. The first time it happened, I was crying in a washroom at placement, but the second time it happened, and I'm like, okay, and what's next? I was speaking to one of my instructors, and he kind of called me out. He was like, why are you only applying to schools in Toronto? Generally, on average, a 10% chance that you'll get into law school. Why are you applying to only 3 schools? Try expanding, try applying out of the city. And I know it's not feasible for some people, but I spoke to my family and they were like totally down for it. So I'm like, okay, you know what, the next time I apply, that's what I'm changing. I'm gonna apply to more schools, keep my options open. I'll be the first person to say I did not want to write the LSAT again in June. I was so tired of it. I'm like, can I just settle? It was the last flexed option, so I took that as a sign from the universe to just write it one more time, get it out of my system. I don't want that worry about what if I wrote it and I could improve my score. So I wrote the LSAT again in June 2021, and that was kind of the final time I wrote it. I scored a 158 158, which was a 72nd percentile. So I really started 146, and throughout the whole journey, I ended up at a 158. I was happy with it. I'm like, now I'm done. If anyone mentions LSAT again, I will beat you up. From September to now the present, I'm doing my MSW. I'm almost done in like a few weeks. The time that I applied again this year, I knew I couldn't improve my LSAT score anymore. I'm like, you know what, I'm done. I did the best I can. I put maximum effort into the LSAT. So I'm like, the only other thing that I can really improve is my personal statement. I went through this company called BMO to get my personal statement and resumes edited. Even though this content stayed the same, the biggest thing that I learned from them, owning your experiences, but really linking it to why that would make me a good lawyer. Really owning up why your experiences are valuable and why you're valuable was like the biggest thing for me. I applied again. Are you surprised? So with my improved LSAT score and personal statement, I applied. Honestly, I knew that if I didn't get in this year, I would try again as well. I was really hoping to not have to try again. I honestly hate the waiting game. It's one of like the hardest part of this entire process, but I got accepted into Windsor, Ottawa, and then also waitlisted for Osgoode and Ryerson. I'm still waiting to hear back from Queens, and I didn't get into UFT, so everything's a bit all over the place. We'll see. Right now I'm just kind of everywhere, but at least it's nice to know that my efforts paid off somehow. And I'm trying to think how to wrap this video up. I know it was a lot of information. If you guys want some specific advice on maybe like how I actually studied for the LSAT, or if you want to know some tips and tricks for kind of fixing up your personal statement, I'd be down to help with anything. So you can comment, you can DM, you know, just let me know and I'll film it. My camera keeps dying on me because I have no memory and I keep talking too much in these clips. I hope something resonated for someone in this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you can, you know, like this video if it was helpful. On your way, subscribe. I'm kidding. Okay, I'm done talking now. Bye.